Hi, I'm Will from Cambridge University Press, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to teach remotely using Evolve and Zoom, and show you some tricks you can use in your virtual classroom. Okay, welcome to my virtual classroom. I want to start by taking you through the screen here so that you know what you're looking at. In the top right hand corner here we've got Zoom, which is the software we're going to be using. In the top right hand corner of Zoom we have the participants list. Below that we've got the chat box. To the left of that we've got the video itself, and below the video we have the various icons here that you can use with Zoom. On the World of Better Learning on the Cambridge website there's a video series by Carol Rainbow that's extremely helpful for teaching you how to use Zoom to teach. So have a look at that if you want to have a look at Zoom in a bit more detail after this video. Below Zoom we've got the How to Teach Remotely Using Evolve guide. It's the lesson plan we're going to use today. And to the left of that we've got the students book, which correlates with the lesson plan we're going to be going through. So let's get started. The first part of the lesson here is to review the grammar presentation from the previous lesson. You can do this by showing sentences with errors that the students have to spot and correct, or by repeating one of the practice activities from the previous lesson. So if you have already got a document that you'd like to share, or a presentation that you showed in the previous lesson, and you'd like to show that again to the students, or show it for the first time to your students, there's a feature in Zoom which will do this very easily for you. So if you go up here to the top right again into the Zoom window, below the video you've got the icons I spoke about earlier, and I want you to look here at the share screen button. So if you press that share screen button, it will bring up a list of all of the windows that your computer has currently got running. So if you've already got sentences with errors, for example, for this part of the lesson, you click that window there, click the share button, and they will pop up here on screen, and then the students can correct the sentences in the chat box for you. Also, in the screen share button here, let's go back into it, you can see the whiteboard option here. This is going to be absolutely invaluable for any lesson. It essentially replaces the physical whiteboard that you would have in a normal classroom. So if you click whiteboard and then click the word share, it brings up this window that all of your students can see. So you can see here you've got a list of options. You can erase certain things, you can draw certain things, you can write certain things, you can move them, you can undo, you can redo, change the colour, change the thickness, change the font. So let's just do an example. So let's say if you want to do this as the lesson goes and you don't want to prepare anything, you haven't got the time or the inclination to prepare something before the lesson starts, you can just do it here in front of them. So you say, for example, he likes swim, and then in the chat box the students can say, no, it's he likes swimming, for example. There's one more feature I wanted to point out for you in this whiteboard, which is going to be really helpful for you and your students in particular. So along here at the end of this you've got the save button. So let's just say, for example, you've done an entire lesson using this whiteboard, quite a lot, and you want to save that, and you want your students to be able to refer back to that if they've got a homework assignment that includes a lot of this work that you've done during the lesson. You can click the save button and it will automatically be saved to a folder which you can then forward on to your students after the lesson's finished. Another really helpful tool to use there. So moving on to the next part of the lesson, the how-to guides assume a certain amount of flipped learning, so the students can do a lot of the work outside the classroom, a lot of the head-down work outside the classroom, and so that the time they have with you and their fellow classmates can really be utilised for more communicative language practice. So in this next part of the lesson, it says to check whether the students have read or listened to the language in context text and completed the vocabulary exercises. Send the students to breakout rooms to check their answers and allow at least 5 minutes for this. Well, I'm going to start by showing you how to open a breakout room. So in the Zoom window at the top right hand corner again, you go to More, or it might already automatically have breakout rooms if you've expanded the Zoom window to your full screen. But I haven't, so I'm going to click More and then click on Breakout Rooms. And then a separate window opens up here where you can rename your breakout rooms and assign students to each of those breakout rooms. Quite simple, and then you simply send them to those breakout rooms where they can have their discussion and compare their answers, whatever you've asked them to do. So you'll notice that the final part of this lesson stage suggests that you allow at least 5 minutes for this. So there's actually a feature in Zoom which will close the breakout room for you automatically after a certain amount of time. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, you go to the breakout room, so I'm going to click More, click on the breakout rooms, your separate window will open, and then at the bottom of that window it gives you other options. So what I'm going to do is look at this line here which says breakout rooms close automatically after 30 minutes. So I'm going to click that button and I'm going to change that to 5. And then you can just click out of that, and then when you open the room, obviously when you've assigned students, you can open all rooms and then they will all be able to go into there and have their discussions. The window will then automatically close after 5 minutes so that you can have a stronger grasp over how long they've got to do each of the tasks. So there's one more point I wanted to make here. You may not see the breakout rooms option immediately come up on your icons list here. So if you click on the arrow next to stop video, and then you click on video settings, then you click on general, and then you click on view more settings at the bottom there, it will open up a separate Explorer window, and then you'll see this list. You need to go quite far down in this list. Keep going. It's in meeting advanced you're looking for. In meeting advanced, it's just here. And you'll see the breakout room option here, and you just got to make sure that that's blue here. That's the breakout room off, that's the breakout room on. Okay, so the third part of the lesson is basically retrieving those answers from the students from those previous 2 exercises. So the guide down here says to call the students back into the main room and use a combination of chat box and calling out individual students to check the answers. Also says you can simply share your screen with the answers on it, and students can check their own answers. There's also another way you can do this. Zoom has another feature with the share screen option here, where students will be able to annotate that PDF themselves. So if I share screen here and I choose the students book page that we're currently working on and click share, the students will now be able to see this PDF on their screen. I will be able to annotate it with this option up here. And also the students will be able to annotate it as well. So in your student screen they'll have a line at the top, and on the right it will say view options, and within that options list it will say annotate. So if the students click that annotate button, they will be able to annotate this PDF as well. So I'll just show you here. So I can do it myself. I'm ticking those 2 there, and I've also got a colleague in this meeting as well. So I'm going to ask him to annotate it himself. I'm going to take my hands off and he'll be able to check the answers as if he were a student. There you go. And that's just another way for students to interact with you and each other, and obviously adds more variety to the classroom as well. So the next part of the lesson is presenting the grammar to them if they haven't already seen it. The beauty of remote teaching is making best use of the flipped classroom approach. So hopefully they've already done a lot of this before the lesson starts, because it is relatively head down. They need to process it, they need to assimilate that information. So one way of actually presenting to them again in the class, just to make sure that they do understand it, is by asking them to answer the questions here in front of the class. So if you go to the share screen option here, and then you click the PDF of the student's book and click share, again you can annotate the answers here, or as I said to you earlier, you can nominate particular students to annotate those answers themselves. Again, another really good way of checking their comprehension of the language and also having them interact in a different way to add variety to the lesson. After that, the guide suggests that you ask students concept check questions in the chat box, or you can nominate students to vocally give the answers as well. Not forgetting that this really is an ideal environment for them to be checking anything they might misunderstand about that language. So really do recommend opening up that forum for them to ask you anything they might not understand. So the next part of the lesson is where students are given the opportunity to practice the grammar we've just gone through with them. So in the how-to guide it says set as individual study or after the class, or if students have already done the work beforehand, check the answers as a whole class. If there's personalised practice, ask students to share their answers in the chat box and call on individual students to expand on their answers. If there is personalised practice, or even if there isn't, if you simply want to add another layer of variety to the lesson, send them to the breakout rooms again, just to check their answers with each other. So again, go into this, click more, breakout rooms, create however many rooms you want, rename them, assign the students to those rooms, maybe give them a time limit, as I mentioned earlier, just to check their answers with each other. Again, that'll help them maybe build confidence in their knowledge of that particular language, adds more variety to it, and really makes use of this environment for them to speak to each other, communicate with each other, and also actually having that interaction in English is giving them more practice as well. Okay, so the slightly more communicative, freer practice part of the lesson now, where it's the speaking task. And in the how-to guide, it suggests you set up the speaking task to complete in the breakout rooms. If there's a video with a sample answer, you can watch this before the students go into their breakout rooms. That might be difficult for some of you, so you could perhaps give your own sample answer, practicing the language points, maybe nominate a student as well that you think might be a bit more confident using it than others, to give an example in front of the class. And then, as before, click more, or you might already see breakout rooms, click breakout rooms, assign your students to those rooms, etc., as I showed you before. So I really hope that was helpful for you, and you can now see some more features that you maybe didn't know before that you could use with Zoom while teaching Evolve. There's also a whole array of other pieces of advice, videos and articles on the World of Better Learning website supporting Every Teacher blog. I'll put the URL at the end of the video, so please do have a look at that. It's got all sorts of other advice for you to be able to teach online and help everyone through this tricky time. So thanks very much for watching. Stay safe and speak to you soon.